She said she was pregnant. Showed him a test. Tears in her eyes, hands trembling, whispering, "We're going to be a family." And just like that, everything changed. He was 26, young but grounded, hardworking, loyal, one of those guys who still opens the door for his girlfriend and never lets a call go unanswered. They weren't perfect, but they had love, or at least he thought they did. Until that moment. The moment she said those two words, "I'm pregnant." But what she didn't know was that lie. That one lie. It would unravel her entire world. See, this wasn't just a fake pregnancy. This wasn't just about keeping a guy around. No, this was something darker. She didn't just want him to stay, she wanted to own him, control him, make sure he could never leave. And for a while, it worked. He believed her. He stayed. He even started picturing fatherhood, nervous late-night Googling of baby names, secretly checking out cribs at Target, wondering if his life was about to change forever. But the thing about lies? They rot. And eventually they stink. It started with the little things. The missed appointments. The vague responses. Her sudden fear of letting him meet her doctor. "He's weird about boyfriends being there," she'd say. Or, "They don't allow guests right now. Hospital policy." And every time he got suspicious, she'd flip the script, cry, accuse him of not trusting her, and talk about stress being bad for the baby. And so, like a decent guy, he backed off. Again and again. But then something happened. She made a mistake. A small one. A barely noticeable, blink and you miss it kind of mistake. But that one slip cracked everything wide open. Because when he tried to double-check the clinic she claimed to be going to, they didn't have her on record. Not as a patient. Not as an emergency walk-in. Nothing. Now, most people would panic. But this guy? He went quiet. He didn't confront her. Not yet. He waited. Observed. Documented. Collected every shred of evidence he could. And then, he hit her with it all at once. The receipts. The lies. The confrontation. And here's the kicker. The one who exposed her, the final nail in the coffin, was someone she never expected. Someone even closer to her than him. This isn't just a story about fake pregnancy. It's a story about manipulation, emotional warfare, and how one man nearly lost himself to a lie that looked like love. So buckle up. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to witness the slow unraveling of a master manipulator, and the rise of a man who walked through fire, and came out smarter, colder, and absolutely done. Let's get into it. You ever love someone so much that you ignore your gut? That little voice in the back of your head whispering, "Something's off here," but you silence it. You push it down. Because you're in love. And love can be the most beautiful delusion there is. But here's the thing. Lies don't sleep. They linger. They fester. And sooner or later they demand to be seen. Welcome to Richard's Stories, where we don't just read Reddit's wildest stories. We unravel them. No filters, no flattery, no fake sympathy. Just real stories, real people, and the messy truth that lives between trust and betrayal. If this is your first time here, settle in. And if you've been rolling with us for a while, then you already know. We don't do boring. Tonight's story isn't just about lies. It's about control, about desperation, and the quiet courage it takes to walk away from someone you once thought you'd spend your life with. Let me tell you about Jay, our main guy. Not a superhero, not some polished influencer with $1 million smile. Just a regular man. Grew up in a small town, raised by a mother who taught him to treat women with decency and a father who worked double shifts to keep the lights on. Jay. He's the kind of guy who listens more than he talks. Thoughtful. Maybe a little too forgiving at times. But solid. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't looking for drama. He just wanted to build something real. And when Leah came into his life, she fit that picture. At first. She was warm. A little chaotic, sure, but charming. Laughed loud, loved harder. She pulled Jay into her world like a storm disguised as sunshine. And like most storms, by the time you realize you're in the eye of it, it's too late to outrun it. But Jay? He didn't see the signs, not right away. He thought they were just a passionate couple with normal ups and downs. He ignored the jealousy, the emotional whiplash, the guilt trips, the "if you really loved me you'd" lines she dropped like crumbs. And when she told him she was pregnant, he didn't doubt her. Not for a second. Because in his world, people don't play games with life. But Leah's world was different. Tonight we're going deep. This story isn't just some Reddit thread you scroll past while waiting for your coffee. This is a psychological chess match between a man fighting to stay sane and a woman willing to lie, cheat, and gaslight her way into keeping what she thought was hers. So if you've ever been manipulated, if you've ever questioned your own reality just to keep someone else happy, if you've ever loved someone who turned love into a weapon, then this one's going to hit hard. Because what Jay went through is not just scandal. It's a case study in how far someone will go to avoid being abandoned, even if it means faking an entire pregnancy, forging documents, and dragging innocent people into their web of deceit. This is more than a story. It's a ride through trust, trauma, and truth. So buckle in. You're watching Richard's stories, and this is where the masks come off. They met in the most unassuming way, through mutual friends at a casual gathering. Jay, a 26-year-old software developer, was the kind of man who valued stability. He had a close-knit group of friends, a steady job, and a penchant for quiet evenings over loud parties. Leah, on the other hand, was vivacious, with a magnetic personality that drew people in. She was a freelance graphic designer, known for her creativity and spontaneity. Their connection was immediate. Conversations flowed effortlessly, and they found common ground in their love for art, music, and late-night walks. Jay was captivated by Leah's zest for life, while Leah admired Jay's grounded nature. Their relationship blossomed quickly, filled with shared experiences and mutual admiration. In the early stages, Leah's intense affection was endearing. She would surprise Jay with thoughtful gestures. His favorite coffee waiting for him in the morning, handwritten notes tucked into his laptop bag. She expressed her love openly, often saying, "I've never felt this way before." Jay, who had always been cautious in love, found himself letting his guard down. However, as time progressed, subtle changes began to emerge. Leah's need for constant communication intensified. If Jay didn't respond to a message promptly, she'd flood his phone with texts and calls, expressing concern or frustration. She started expressing discomfort with Jay spending time with his friends, suggesting that they didn't truly care for him or that they were a bad influence. Jay, ever the peacemaker, began to adjust his life to accommodate Leah's needs. He spent less time with his friends, believing that nurturing his relationship was paramount. He rationalized Leah's behavior as a manifestation of deep love and fear of losing him. Leah's mood swings became more pronounced. Moments of intense affection were followed by periods of coldness or irrational anger. She would accuse Jay of not loving her enough or of being distant. These confrontations often left Jay feeling bewildered and guilty, prompting him to apologize and reassure her of his commitment. Despite these challenges, Jay remained invested in the relationship. He believed that with patience and understanding, they could overcome any obstacle. He started suggesting couples counseling, hoping it would provide them with tools to navigate their issues. Leah, however, dismissed the idea, insisting that their problems weren't significant enough to warrant professional help. As Jay continued to navigate the complexities of their relationship, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The woman he had fallen in love with seemed to be slipping away, replaced by someone he barely recognized. Yet, he held on to hope, believing that the Leah he knew and loved was still there, hidden beneath the layers of confusion and emotional turmoil. Little did Jay know, the most significant challenge was yet to come. A revelation that would shake the very foundation of their relationship and force him to confront truths he had been avoiding. Jay was just settling back into routine after being away for months on a work trip. Long hours, endless check-ins, and sleepless nights had taken a toll, but one thing kept him grounded: Leah. She'd been his rock during the distance. FaceTimes almost every night, long emotional talks, texts that made his heart skip. She made the distance feel bearable, even romantic. So when he got home, duffel bag still zipped up, she came to him with trembling hands and a solemn face. "I'm pregnant." She held up a test, those two pink lines staring him down like a bullet to the chest. And just like that, the air in the room shifted. Jay was stunned. Not in a bad way, but in that overwhelming, heart-pounding, "Is this really happening?" way. His first instinct wasn't suspicion. Why would it be? He'd been with her before he left, and if anyone had earned his trust, it was Leah. He felt lucky. "I didn't want to tell you over the phone," she whispered, tears forming. "I wanted to wait until you were home." He hugged her, held her for a long time. And though 1,000 thoughts flooded his mind, bills, doctor visits, names, the future, there was something oddly calming about it all. As if fate had decided, this is your path now. Over the next few weeks, Jay leaned in. She started sending him little updates, baby name ideas, maternity posts, even snippets from parenting blogs. One day, while he was still wrapping up tasks remotely, she video called him from what she said was her first prenatal appointment. The camera shook as she moved it to show a white-walled room. A nurse walked by in the background, clipboard in hand. There were machines, beeping monitors. Jay even caught a glimpse of a chart that looked like a fetal development sheet. It seemed real. It felt real. "This is happening," she said softly. Jay smiled. "We're gonna be parents." But as days turned into weeks, things began to shift. Subtle, almost unnoticeable at first. Leah became intensely clingy. He chalked it up to pregnancy hormones at first. Perfectly reasonable, he thought. But her texts grew more frequent, more emotionally charged. If he didn't respond within a few minutes, she'd follow up with messages like, "Are you mad at me?" Or, "Please don't ignore me, I need you." She started tracking his location, not in a creepy way, at least not initially, but in a way that felt like she was scared to be alone. "It just calms me knowing where you are," she said. He wanted to believe it was love. A bond forming stronger in the face of this new life. But little cracks began to form. Friends noticed first. Marcus, his longtime buddy, casually asked one day over wings, "Hey man, Leah's cool and all, but doesn't she seem, I don't know, intense lately?" Jay defended her. "She's pregnant, man. Emotions are a mess." But Marcus didn't drop it. "I get that. But the video call during the doctor's appointment? Didn't it seem kinda, I don't know, produced?" Jay bristled. "You're overthinking it." But that one comment stuck with him. He started looking back, replaying the video call, the oddly quiet background, the slightly off timing of the nurse's appearance. It didn't help that every time he offered to come to the next appointment, Leah had a reason why he couldn't. "They're just routine," she'd say. "Nothing you need to miss work over." Still, Jay gave her the benefit of the doubt. He wanted to believe her. Every part of him did. But some part of him, quiet, buried, was beginning to whisper, "Something doesn't feel right." Then came the request. Leah wanted to move in together immediately. She framed it as a necessity for the baby, for nesting. Jay understood. But when he asked for a few weeks to get things in order, she panicked. "Are you having second thoughts?" she snapped, eyes watering. "No, Leah," he said gently. "I just want to do this right. I'm not walking away." She relaxed. Temporarily. But the emotional swings grew sharper. One moment she was glowing and maternal, painting baby-themed Pinterest boards and shopping for cribs. The next, she was in tears, accusing him of not loving her enough or acting distant. Jay found himself constantly tiptoeing, caught between caring for Leah and keeping his sanity. He stopped seeing friends as often. He postponed a weekend trip with his brother. Everything became about her. And the baby. Or so he thought. The tension wasn't enough to break him, not yet. But it wrapped around his mind like a tightening thread. And still, he told himself what he needed to hear. This is what responsibility looks like. This is what love demands. But the question he never asked was the one that would haunt him soon. What if everything he believed in was built on a lie? By now, Jay had been back from his overseas work trip for a few weeks. The apartment that once echoed with laughter and shared dreams now carried a weight in the air, something unsaid, unspoken, yet ever present. Leah still greeted him with that same dazzling smile, the same softness in her voice, but Jay couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't a single thing. It never is. It's the slow drift. The tiny details that don't quite align, like puzzle pieces you force into place until you step back and realize the picture looks wrong. It started with the doctor's appointments. Jay, now fully settled back home and excited to embrace his role as an expecting father, insisted, on accompanying Leah to her next prenatal checkup. He even cleared his calendar for the week, marking the date in bold red ink. But when the morning arrived, Leah woke him with a kiss on the cheek and a soft voice. "Baby, you don't need to come. It's just routine, nothing special. Plus, they don't even allow guests right now. Clinic policy, too many flu cases going around." Jay blinked, confused. "But I thought the last time you said the doctor encouraged partners to come?" She smiled that same smile, the one that used to melt his doubt, and said, "That was before. Policies change." He let it go. For now. But that little pinprick of suspicion, it stayed. The next sign came with the ultrasound. Jay had been looking forward to it, excited like a kid at Christmas, waiting to see the little flicker of life growing inside Leah. When she returned from the appointment, she handed him a glossy black and white image. "There's our peanut," she beamed. Jay stared at the photo, searching. Something felt off. No name, no date, no clinic watermark. Just an image. Still, he told himself it was fine. Maybe that's how her clinic did it. Not every office was the same, right? Then came the prenatal vitamins. Jay had bought them himself. Top shelf, doctor recommended, a big bottle with enough to last a month. But weeks passed and that bottle sat untouched in the cabinet, its safety seal still intact. "Hey," he asked one night while they watched TV, "did you switch vitamins or something? The bottle I got you still sealed." Leah didn't even flinch. "All that? Yeah, I've been taking the gummies at work. They're easier on my stomach. The ones you bought make me queasy." Seemed reasonable. Pregnancy hormones do weird things. Again, Jay let it slide. But doubts don't stay buried. They fester. Quietly. Silently. And then came the tipping point. Jay couldn't take it anymore. His gut screamed that something wasn't right. So, without telling Leah, he called the clinic she claimed to go to. He posed as her fiancé, asking for an appointment confirmation. He expected a quick answer. Instead, he got silence. "Sir, I'm sorry, we don't have a Leah Davis in our patient registry. Are you sure it's this clinic?" Jay's world paused. His throat tightened. "She's been coming there for months," he muttered, more to himself than the woman on the phone. "I'm sorry," the receptionist repeated, "we have no record of her here." He hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. It wasn't just disbelief. It was grief, confusion, betrayal, all crashing at once. Jay sat at the kitchen table, staring at the unopened vitamin bottle, the ultrasound photo now looking more like a stock image than a piece of his future. That night, Leah came home all smiles. She tossed her bag on the couch and gave Jay a kiss. He didn't kiss her back. "You didn't go to the clinic?" he said flat. She froze, her smile faltering. "What do you mean?" "I called them. They have no record of you." The air in the room thickened. Her face twitched just for a second and then she blinked. "They must have made a mistake. I gave them my old name, Leah Daniels. I forgot to tell you I changed it back temporarily for insurance reasons." Jay stared, saying nothing. The explanation felt rehearsed. She went on, "Babe, you know I wouldn't lie to you. You're everything to me. This baby is everything." And for a moment, he wanted to believe her. He needed to believe her. But the seed of doubt had already taken root. It wasn't going anywhere now. He said nothing, just nodded slowly. But inside he knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Something deeper was unraveling, slowly like a thread being pulled from a tightly woven fabric. Still he didn't leave. Not yet. Because love, real love, even when tainted, doesn't just evaporate. It lingers. It fights. And Jay? Jay needed answers. But little did he know, the truth he was about to discover wasn't just unsettling. It was soul-crushing. And it was coming for him fast. What did Jay find next? What did Leah really do to keep the lie going? Stay with me. Because the unraveling has only just begun. Some truths don't crack open. They explode. And when they do, they take everything with them. Jay sat at the edge of the couch, hands clenched, his heart pounding like it wanted out of his chest. The apartment was quiet, far too quiet for what was about to happen. Leah was in the kitchen, humming to herself as she fixed tea, completely unaware that Jay was done pretending. He had tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Again. And again. But lies have weight. Eventually, they crush everything underneath them. He watched her walk over, balancing two mugs. She smiled, handed him his, and sat across from him. Everything about her seemed so normal, so calm, so painfully orchestrated. He took a slow sip, then set the mug down without a sound. "Leah, I know." She blinked. Her smile faltered, then returned like it had been rehearsed. "Know what?" "Everything." Her breath hitched just barely. She tried to speak, but her lips parted without sound. Jay didn't wait. "There's no baby. There never was. You never went to those appointments. You faked the ultrasounds. The clinic never heard of you. And you haven't taken a single vitamin I bought." Leah froze. The air turned thick. She stared at him, eyes wide, wild, suddenly searching for an escape. But the walls had closed in. Jay wasn't asking. He was telling. And finally, after what felt like forever, her shoulders dropped. She broke. Tears poured out of her like a dam collapsing, her body shaking as sobs rattled her chest. She tried to speak, but the words came in fragments. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought you'd leave. If I wasn't pregnant, you'd walk away." Jay felt sick. A deep, soul-hollow kind of nausea. "So you lied to trap me?" Leah shook her head violently. "No, not trap you. I loved you. I didn't want to lose you." I thought if I had a reason, a real reason, you'd stay. Jay stood, pacing, unable to stay still. You thought pretending to carry my child would make me love you more? Leah cried harder. It wasn't just me. I wasn't alone. He stopped cold. What? She hesitated. Then in the smallest, most defeated voice he'd ever heard, she said, Lena helped me. The name hit like a hammer to the skull. Lena. Her best friend. The one who used to text Jay randomly about taking care of Leah. The one who smiled too wide when they visited. The one Jay thought was just overprotective. Lena what? Leah looked up, tears staining her cheeks. She helped fake the doctor's office. She staged the background of those video calls. She printed the fake ultrasound at her cousin's studio. She even coached me, told me what to say, what symptoms to fake. Jay backed away. The walls around him felt warped. Bet. Like reality itself had been tampered with. Why would she do that? Why would you? Leah sobbed. She said if I didn't lock it down soon I'd lose you. That people like you don't stay unless you give them a reason to. Jay's voice was cold now. So I was a project to both of you? Leah shook her head desperately. No. I loved you. I was scared. Jay's fist clenched. You don't lie about a child. You don't build a relationship on a goddamn fantasy. Leah whispered something then. Something he almost didn't hear. Lena wants to tell you too. She's been feeling guilty. She says she might come clean. And there it was. Another layer of betrayal. Not just Leah, but the friend. The co-conspirator. The other person he trusted in that tiny circle. Now possibly turning on her friend? Or maybe just protecting herself. Jay stared at Leah, this woman he had once imagined building a family with. And now all he saw was the wreckage of that dream. Everything was a lie. And yet, something told him the lies weren't done unraveling. Because Lena reaching out? That meant more was coming. Something deeper. Maybe something even darker. So Jay walked out. Not forever. Not yet. But enough to clear his head. And as he stepped into the cold night air, his phone buzzed. Unknown number, Jay. It's Lena. I need to talk. Alone. It's about Leah, and it's worse than you think. After the dam broke and the truth came pouring out, you'd think that'd be the end of it. But no, this wasn't a clean cut. It wasn't even a jagged one. It was a wound that kept tearing open every time Jay turned around. The house that once echoed with late-night giggles and whispered I love yous had fallen deathly silent. Leah? She was gone. But her shadow? Still lingered. Jay packed his bags that same night. No long goodbye. No tearful explanations. Just silence. He left her crying on the kitchen floor, clinging to the lies she no longer had the strength to defend. A storm had swept through his life, and now all he could do was walk away before it swallowed him whole. He cut off all contact. Blocked her on everything. Phone, socials, emails. Changed the locks on his apartment and installed security cameras just in case. And it wasn't paranoia, it was survival. But here's the thing, Leah wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Soon after the breakup, Jay's inbox was flooded with screenshots from mutual friends. Leah had gone full scorched earth. She plastered her social media with sob stories about how he abandoned her while she was pregnant, crying victim to an audience that only saw what she wanted them to. There were photos of baby clothes. A sonogram, yes, another fake one, captioned, he would have been a great dad if he stayed. The manipulation didn't end when she got caught. It evolved. She started showing up at places she had no business being. His favorite cafe, the gym, even his office building parking lot. She never approached, just watched. And that was the creepiest part, she didn't want closure. She wanted control. But here's where it gets darker, way darker. One day Jay got an anonymous email. The subject line? You need to know what was really going to happen. Attached? A 3-page letter. Signed by Lena. Yes, Leah's best friend, the same one who helped stage the fake doctor visits, the same one who stayed quiet while Leah manipulated Jay into near madness. And now, she was ready to spill everything. The letter detailed a plan so twisted, it made the pregnancy lie look like a prank. Turns out, Leah never loved Jay. Not even a little. Every kiss, every I love you, every teary confession? Fabricated. Scripted. Strategic. She had targeted Jay from the beginning. What? Because of his family's hedge fund. He wasn't just any guy. Jay had trust access to a multi-million-dollar investment firm through his late grandfather. Leah knew that. And the pregnancy? That was phase 1 of a long con. If she could rope him into cohabitation, maybe even marriage, she could manipulate her way into joint accounts, legal benefits, eventual inheritance. But it gets worse. Lena claimed that after Leah moved in, she planned to begin microdosing Jay's food and drinks with small amounts of a slow-acting toxin. A subtle killer, meant to damage his liver over time, masked as a stress-related illness. Something no doctor would immediately flag as foul play. By the time anyone noticed, it would be too late. She wanted it to look like he just withered. All this because she believed she could play the grieving partner. The loyal girlfriend who stood by his side until the end. The one who'd be left with the apartment, the sympathy, and eventually, a slice of his wealth. Now, Lena hadn't agreed to any of that in the beginning. Sure, she'd helped stage the fake pregnancy, but murder? That wasn't part of the plan. At least not until a disagreement cracked the facade between them. And here's where everything shifted. It happened during a girls' night out. A posh downtown club. Leah and Lena, laughing over overpriced cocktails and making veiled jokes about Jay and the next phase. That's when the argument started. Leah had promised Lena a generous cut once she secured the bag, but now, she was getting cagey. Deflecting. Saying things like, "You'll get something. Just not as much as we discussed." Things changed. That didn't sit well with Lena. At all. And then came the moment that made her blood run cold. While pretending to be tipsy and distracted, Lena noticed Leah slipping something into her drink. A white, almost powdery residue vanishing into the liquid under the strobe lights. Leah thought she wasn't looking. But she was. And that was it. Lena excused herself, said she had to take a call, and never came back. She went straight home shaking. That night she wrote the letter. She knew Leah had crossed the final line. And this time, she wasn't just targeting Jay. She was cleaning up loose ends. Lena knew, if she didn't run she wouldn't survive. Jay. He couldn't breathe after reading that letter. This wasn't just manipulation, it was attempted murder. Emotional warfare weaponized to the highest degree. He took the letter to the police, but without any physical evidence or confession, it became a he-said-she-said standoff. Still, it was enough for a restraining order. Leah? She disappeared from the city shortly after. Moved states, changed her Instagram handle. But before she vanished entirely, she left one final message on her story. A black screen. White text. "You'll regret this." That was the last he ever saw of her. But Jay, he chose healing. Slowly. Deliberately. He joined a local support group for victims of emotional abuse and manipulation. Shared his story anonymously online. And there, among strangers who understood the trauma of deception, he began to find pieces of himself again. One day he met someone new. Someone who didn't need to manipulate or lie to feel seen. It didn't happen quickly and he didn't rush it. But this time, he built it differently. Brick by brick. No illusion, no stage lights, no scripts. And here's what he said in his final Reddit update. "It took almost losing everything to realize that loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Love without truth is a leash. And if someone forces you to question your reality, that's not passion. That's poison." He's still healing. Still rebuilding. But he's free. And Leah? Let's just say, not all ghosts stay dead. Some just learn to hide better. If you think the story couldn't twist your gut any further, just wait until you hear how the world responded. Because once Jay's final update hit Reddit, it was like a match dropped into dry leaves. Suddenly, everything ignited. Comments didn't just trickle in, they exploded. Hundreds in minutes, thousands by the hour. And it wasn't just the shock, it was the recognition. People didn't just read Jay's story, they saw themselves in it. And the top comment? She didn't want a baby, she wanted control. Brutal. Direct. And absolutely true. That single sentence became the thread's unofficial anthem. It got upvoted so many times, people started screen capping it, turning it into memes, reposting it to other subreddits. It was stitched into TikToks, quoted on podcasts, dropped into comment sections under breakup videos. Because in just 9 words, it summed up the monster behind the mask. But then came the second top comment, the one that really cracked the story wide open. The real red flag? The friend's involvement. That's next level manipulative. That hit a nerve. People weren't just furious at Leah. They were horrified by Lena. Because what kind of friend doesn't just stand by while someone fakes a pregnancy, but helps them do it? And worse, what kind of person agrees to a scheme, then backs out only because she wasn't getting her cut? That's when the real debate started. Some viewers argued Lena deserved credit for coming clean. At least she confessed, they said. She didn't have to. But others weren't buying it. She confessed because she got caught in her own trap, one user snapped. You don't get to play the hero when you helped write the horror script. And then the DMs started rolling in. People sent me stories. Real ones. Raw ones. And I want to read you one that shook me up. It came from someone we'll call Maya. She said, "I cried listening to your story. 3 years ago, I was in love with a guy who was everything I thought I wanted. Charming, stable, funny. But then I found out he had a second phone. Entire life on it. Another girlfriend. A secret bank account. I stayed because he told me he needed me. I stayed because I thought love was sacrifice. It took me collapsing in a hospital from stress to finally leave." Maya ended her message with a line that could have come straight from Jay himself. "If you're constantly justifying their lies, it's not love. It's survival." Another fan, someone going by Code Blue, wrote, "My ex faked a miscarriage to stop me from leaving. I still have nightmares. Your video made me realize I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cold. I was manipulated." These stories kept coming, like a tidal wave that had just been waiting to rise. In one Reddit comment chain, someone wrote, "What if Jay hadn't found that message from the best friend? What if he did eat the poison food?" That's what really terrifies me. Because we think evil always wears a mask, but sometimes it shows up smiling, carrying a fake sonogram, whispering "I love you" with a straight face. That comment sparked a 2,000 reply thread. People sharing stories of gaslighting, betrayal, and slow psychological manipulation they hadn't been able to explain, until now. Another popular theory started gaining traction, that Leah wasn't acting alone. That maybe there were others involved. Friends who stayed silent, family members who benefited financially, even a former ex she may have scammed before Jay. Someone even found a deleted Instagram account with eerily similar captions to the ones Leah posted during the fake pregnancy era. The caption read, "You never lose when you're the one who walks away." Now, was it Leah's? No one could confirm. But the rabbit holes kept opening. Then the discussion turned inward. What would you do if someone you loved lied about something this big? That question became the centerpiece for comment sections across platforms. Some said they'd cut off contact entirely, go full no contact like Jay did and never look back. Others weren't so sure. What if you have kids? What if they're the only person who's ever made you feel seen? They asked. That's the cruel complexity of manipulation. It doesn't always feel like evil when you're in it. Another user added, "There's something about being deceived by someone you love that breaks more than trust. It breaks your understanding of reality." That's what hit the hardest. It wasn't the lie about the baby. It wasn't even the plot to poison him. It was the way love had been used as a leash, tightened every time Jay pulled away. Every, "I'm pregnant." Every, "I need you." Every, "You're the only one I have." All of it designed to trap him. And even after the truth came out, people still felt haunted by it. Viewers wanted updates. They needed to know, did Jay ever press charges? Did Leah ever try to come back? Did Lena disappear for good? And most of all, was he really okay? But Jay's final post didn't offer those answers. It ended simply, quietly. "I'm not healed, but I'm healing. And that's enough, for now." And that silence said more than any comment could. Because this wasn't just a Reddit story anymore. This was a wake-up call. A reflection. A gut-punch reminder that some people don't want partners. They want puppets. And the scariest part? They usually look just like love. Could there be more victims? What if Leah resurfaces? Is Jay really safe? Here's what they never tell you. It's not the knife in your back that haunts you the most. It's the hand that held it. Because betrayal isn't just about lies. It's about who lied. The person you laughed with, built dreams with, the one who kissed your forehead and made promises under soft lights. That's who becomes the architect of your unraveling. Jay's story? It's not just a cautionary tale about fake pregnancies or poisoned food. It's about something much more insidious. How manipulation thrives, not in chaos, but in comfort. Let's sit with that. Because most people think abuse looks like shouting, bruises, slammed doors. But the deepest kind? The kind that leaves you questioning reality itself? That kind whispers. It says things like, "You're overthinking. Why are you always so dramatic? Don't ruin this for us." Gaslighting isn't a scream. It's a suggestion. And Jay's unraveling didn't start with a fake sonogram. It started with doubt. Doubt planted like a weed by someone who smiled while doing it. Leah didn't need to trap him physically. She made him doubt himself. His instincts, his memory, his own moral compass. And that's where manipulation breeds. So let's break it down. Theme 1. The myth of the red flag. Leah didn't show up wearing villain colors. She was affectionate, attentive, vulnerable. And that's what made her believable. Jay missed the signs because he wasn't looking for evil in someone who called him baby and left notes on his windshield. Red flags aren't always bold. Sometimes they're subtle. Like needing control over your finances. Like love that comes with conditions. Like friends who vanish when you question the narrative. If someone gets angry when you ask questions, they're not protecting love. They're protecting a lie. Theme 2, the dangerous silence of friends. Lena's role is a critical one here, because manipulation rarely survives in isolation. It feeds off enablers, people who look the other way or worse help you build the illusion. And while Lena did eventually speak, let's not forget, she only spoke because her cut wasn't big enough. Her conscience didn't wake up, her survival instinct did. But still, her revelation unlocked everything. And there's a terrifying truth in that. Sometimes, the people who save you are also the ones who betrayed you. What a cruel paradox. Theme 3, you can love someone and still need to leave. This one is personal. So many viewers messaged me saying, but I still love them. Does that mean I should stay? And here's what Jay's journey teaches us. Love, real love, isn't a debt. It's a choice. It shouldn't cost your peace, your safety, or your sanity. And walking away doesn't mean you stopped loving them. It means you started loving yourself. Because healing doesn't begin with revenge. It doesn't begin with closure. Sometimes it begins with silence. With blocking the number. With deleting the thread. With waking up one morning and deciding, today I will not bleed for someone who wouldn't have flinched if I died. Theme 4, you are not crazy. You are not alone. One of the most heartbreaking patterns in abusive dynamics is the isolation. Victims begin to believe they're the problem. That their emotions are excessive. That their memory is flawed. But Jay's story struck a chord because it whispered something powerful into all those dark corners of confusion. You weren't imagining it. You weren't wrong. You were being manipulated. And that message? It became a lighthouse for thousands. Cliffhanger for the soul. Could it happen again? Now here's the part that lingers like a cold breeze under the door. Leah is still out there. Yes, she lost Jay. Yes, her plan collapsed. But people like her? They don't stop. They adapt. The terrifying truth is that someone, somewhere could be dating her right now. Falling for the same script. Another Jay, unaware he's the next act in a twisted sequel. And that thought? It doesn't just make your skin crawl. It makes you want to pay attention. Because the next story like this could be closer than you think. You think you've heard it all, but then life grabs you by the collar and says, you're not ready for this. Because up next, imagine standing at the altar, the love of your life in front of you, friends and family smiling, cameras flashing, and just as the officiant says, do you take, you find out your entire relationship has been a carefully crafted lie. Not a rumor. Not a suspicion. Proof delivered right into your hand in front of everyone. And what this man did in that moment. He didn't cry. He didn't run. He smiled. And what happened next left everyone speechless. That story's coming. And you're not going to want to miss it. But for now, thank you. Thank you for staying with me through the storm of betrayal, manipulation, poison-laced drinks, and a love that turned into a trap. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're reflections. Mirrors held up to the raw, complicated edges of real relationships. Some dark, some devastating, but all deeply, unforgettably human. If this story stirred something in you, rage, grief, relief, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. Let's make sense of the madness together. And to the Jays out there, the ones who gave their all to someone who only wanted control, you're not weak. You're not foolish. You're human. You believed in love. And believing isn't a crime. But weaponizing that belief, that's what destroys. Final thought before I go. Truth hurts. But lies? Lies destroy everything.